Pastor, and everyone. I would say that I'm most privileged to be assigned this role, and I thank you for the opportunity. The speaker for tonight is a person who is known to me. In fact, I didn't know the business he was doing, but I knew that I was taking a lot of money from him for Special Health Ministry. He is the managing director of Zamax Limited, a business that he co-owns with his wife, and they are into cocoa residue exports. Before the function, before the start of the program, I asked them that I know that cocoa in Ghana is sold as beans, the whole beans. And then the pod is turned into what we all know to be alatasamina. So what other residue do you have for sale? And he says, well, there are also bad cocoa beans that the cocoa producers and buyers do not sell. So they in turn buy those ones and export them. That is what is used for the cosmetic industry and sometimes for feed and manure. How he and his wife decided to go into that is a subject for another day. He's not here for that purpose. But today, he is here to talk to us on how to revamp and grow a distressed business or start and develop a collapsed one in Ghana's challenged economy and business climate. I'll give you a synopsis to this. But before I do that, please help me welcome Mr. Augustine Ketson. Thank you, Mr. Ketson. So the question is that why has the church, through our pastor and his team, decided to teach us this? It is a known fact that the level of unemployment in Ghana is appreciably high, to the point that there is Unemployed Graduates Association. How we decided to do that and how we got to this point, I think we all know. The banking sector reform, the collapse of some banks and other financial institutions. We know that at a certain point there were a lot of microfinance businesses. They are all out. This sharply increased the already high levels of unemployment in Ghana. The lack of jobs has created a state of despondency for the unemployed and uneasy calm in the country. People have looked up to government to create more jobs and employ more people, with government apparently struggling to pay workers amidst threats of demonstration and sit-down strike by sections of public workers. One can justifiably comment that the die is cast for anyone hoping to secure a government salary job. With no hope or very little hope of employment, either in the public sector or the private sector, the move has been towards entrepreneurship. Many people have established business, small to medium-scale businesses, to make a living. However, in recent times, businesses are going through challenging times. COVID hit. Fuel prices have gone beyond expected levels, both in Ghana and elsewhere. Our cedi has tumbled greatly against foreign currencies. The cost of doing business has increased to astronomical levels. So with the socio-economic impact of the current increment in tariffs and taxes, and a further urge for citizens, and especially Parliament, to allow for the passage of the highly questioned and publicly decried e-levy, the plight of the common Ghanaian and even the business people look threatened and obviously very, very worrying. So this evening, Mr. Ketson, we need advice. Is it all gloom? How do you advise anyone to revamp his business in these distressed times? How do you restart a business that has collapsed? How can challenged business owners navigate through this challenged business climate? I believe the audience are here poised to listen and learn, and the opportunity is created by the church for this. So please, Mr. Kesson, your audience, we are ready.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. I'll ask permission to stand because I believe the hands, the eyes, the movement sends better message for a proper understanding. So if you permit me, I will stand there, and during question time, I come back to take my seat.
Permit me to interrupt you as you go by.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I'll first seize the opportunity to appreciate the organizers having honored me amongst the many in this church to lead this session. I'm most privileged, and I thank you so much. As the topic says, how to revamp distressed business. Of course, once it's a distressed business, you will all agree with me that it's a business that has undergone several setbacks or challenges. Some of these words, a lot of people have the way they understand. So I'll do my best, first and foremost, to break it down to levels that wouldn't be difficult for members here or audience here to understand. Distressed or setbacks, simple means experiencing or encountering some form of challenge or failure in your business. Disappointment, defeat, they are all setbacks, misfortunes, hindrances. In any case, nobody sets out business to fail, but they are bound to happen because there's what you call business risk. Once you set out to do business, remember that there is an inherent risk that can always befall you. Business growth and survival depends on both internal and external risk. While some are foreseeable, others are mostly unpredictable. And the unpredictable ones, I can assure you, because it's unpredictable, you may not necessarily prepare for it. But the foreseeable ones, which is within our control, it is always good to have mastery over what you are doing so that these foreseeable ones you try as much as possible to overcome. Business is inherently risky, and failure to do the right things will certainly take you to problems. Now, as part of my preamble, I would also say facing setbacks is also part of the path to success. That means successful businessman is not defined by the number of times he has failed, but what he has learned from those failures. As the phrase goes, in diversity lies strength. So setbacks on their own is not bad at all. In trying to overcome setbacks also builds you up. So, in as much as we don't expect setbacks to befall on us, when they come, they are on their own good, because in an attempt to overcome these setbacks makes you stronger. So you need to accept that businesses has inherent risk, and you are ready to face them. To safeguard a new or established business, it is necessary to understand what can lead to business setbacks and how each setback could be managed or avoided altogether. Statistics that we have according to Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 30% of businesses survive after 10 years. It means businesses start, they do well in the first year, about 80% will survive. By second year, it has dropped to 65%. By the fifth year, 50%. By the 10th year, 30%. In effect, business failure is a harsh reality that every businessman must know that it can happen. I'll try to come up with certain causes of business setbacks so that as business persons, you safeguard them. If you remember, I said some of the factors are external and unpredictable. Typical example is what we call force majeure conditions. This is unsurmountable force which covers emergencies and unavoidable circumstances under conditions such as natural disasters, military actions, war, and almighty pandemic like COVID-19. When I said the natural disaster is unpredictable, in some countries you can come up with flood. Who controls that? Is the Almighty God. Unpredictable. Military action. Nobody will set out to stage a coup and come and announce that on the 3rd day of next month there will be coup so that you will prepare. No. Coups we don't announce. They are force majeure conditions. War. Force majeure condition. Pandemic. We were here 2019 somewhere in November. We heard a small virus was behaving in China. We were in Ghana. We thought it was a Chinese problem. Within few months, we were there, affecting everybody in this world and its attendant consequences. Most businesses are struggling because of COVID-19. In fact, there is one mitigating factor, which even with that, the normal businesses that we handle around here, we tend to overlook. But that mitigating factor is to trigger force majeure provisions in certain contracts those who believe they are really into business do, because these are setbacks they may know before they start. So they go to their insurance company to design a tailor-made policy to suit certain conditions. So if you happen to be hit by force majeure and you happen to have a good contract with your insurance company, it's only a matter of triggering it. Once you trigger that mitigating factor, you are good to go. If you don't do that, then the setback hits you. Then you need to now go back to what the topic really says, which when I get there, I would explain how you can go. But immediately, those smaller businesses, you can visit your insurance companies, explain yourself, they can have a good contractual agreement to cater for situations like force majeure. Another failure, cause of failure or something that business owners do not do and run into troubles is number 2, unwillingness to adopt effective and dynamic business plan. It's good to conceptualize an idea. It's good to go to Registrar General to register the business. But there must be a formal document prepared by the business owner or whichever groups trying to come together to form a company. And this document should outline your business goals, your objectives, and strategies and ways it plans to achieve them in order to remain business. Every business requires a business plan before operation begins. Business plan. Business plan. How many businesses in Ghana have business plans? So when you have the setback, which pertains to lack of or unwillingness to have a business plan, then you are bound to fail. Now, business owners who fail to address the needs of the business through a well laid out plan before operation begins are certain to fail. I said a well laid out. The plan must be effective. That is why I say it should be a well laid out. Religiously, you can follow them. Similarly, a business that does not regularly review an initial business plan, or that is not prepared to adapt to change in the market or industry, meets potential unsurmountable challenge. Those who study science, I remember we came across a principle called Le Chatelier's principle. In an equilibrium system, it should be made such that when, I'm paraphrasing, I've forgotten my chemistry. One of the factors changes, you should be able to readjust so that it will not have effect on the chain. So whoever has a business plan must see to that the plan is dynamic. Year by year, month by month, situations around must tell you that I need to do what? Adapt to change. And it is important to avoid pitfalls associated with business plan. Business should have a solid understanding of the industry. So before you can have plan, which is dynamic and effective, please, you have conceptualized. It is always good to learn more, research, and understand the industry well before you go in, because unwillingness to adopt a business plan can lead to business failure or can have your business distressed. You don't need to allow the business to be distressed before you think of revamping. So just as you have started, try and learn about the safeguards so that you don't wait till you are in trouble before you run helter-skelter for solutions. Another cause, which is number 3, lack of business legitimacy. Well, let me develop this when I finish. You can ask. Please sort him out. Lack of business legitimacy. When you conceive the idea and you form the business, having registered with Registrar General, it does not end there. You need to legitimize or put legal cover on the business. Legitimacy in every business is a precondition. License to operate. Business owners, please, you may need to secure permits and licenses and follow registration requirements in order to begin legal operations. If you want to establish legitimacy of your business, like he introduced me as a cocoa dealer, we have our regulators, Ghana Cocoa Board. After I have registered the company, to have the legitimacy, I need to pursue the permit or the license before I start operations. Businesses caught operating without permit or license could be forced to cease operations. There are always legal ramifications or requirements that businesses must go through before they can have their legitimacy. Typical example in Ghana, you heard of Exton Cubic. I saw the documentary. Exton Cubic applied to have a bauxite consignment. In every situation, we use these typical examples to advise ourselves. After going through all those processes, spending money to invest in exploration and everything, it's happened that he needed parliamentary approval. Because of that license or permit, lack of or not having that particular permit, the law caught up with him. Supreme Court could just rule. And it was, for me, the biggest setback that one can go through. After spending all that money, it's gone waste because he could not legitimize the business. So business owners, if you are caught operating without a permit or license, you'll be forced to cease operation by relevant agencies or state or attract government fines, if not criminal penalty, for failure to register. Business legitimacy. I think.
Can I take it from here? Let me step it back to this business planning issue. I think an integral part of a business plan is your cash flows. I work with accountants, permit me, and so you are supposed to project your sales or your turnover, whatever, and then project your expenditure. So in all of this, you have done a good business plan. Your projections were on point, but something happens, regulatory changes, like taxes, whatever, and then everything changes for you. So the goals that you set for yourself in your cash flow, everything changes. How do you pick up and revamp your business? Because then it has affected your business and you are at your all-time low. How do you bounce back and have a successful business?
Good. It's a good question. You see, the professionals. I'm not a professional, but I'll make an attempt to answer. You see, business can also fail if there's lack of contingency funding. Contingency. Planned reserves of money they can call upon in the event of financial crisis. Like he was saying, it's all about financial crisis. And to avoid this simple answer I'll give, because that is what I do. You keep records of all financial transactions, including every expenditure and all revenue received, and use this information to generate an income statement. Why am I saying this? Once you are in financial crisis, somebody must help bail you out. It could be your bankers. Trust me, bankers will not support when your books are not clean. So, as an advice, businessmen and women, keep records of all transactions. For instance, the bank might have given you some money. Now you are down. Are they also prepared to see to that they lose the money they have given you? No. So a credit committee in the bank can assess your books. If genuinely the distress you are going through is indeed not your fault, but market forces and others, all they do is to come together, assess you well, and advance further money for you. But can we all do this? Business is an idea people conceptualize. Please, all you need to do here, when you lack the skill in financial management, please consider hiring financial advisors, the professional bookkeepers or certified public account person to help you manage your financial affairs. You can do it. Spend some few cedis and make sure always your books are clean so that you can carry that book to wherever you want to solicit the support. Am I close to getting you the answer? The other is an expert. Write to their company, this is the problem I have. Can you help me? I think they can delegate few people to come. Just explain everything. They will fix your books. And you are good to go. So I will continue with the challenges. Inventory mismanagement. Inventory mismanagement. We've come to realize that 1 in 3 business failure is due to employee theft. Employee theft. It's everywhere. 1 in every 3 business failure is due to employee theft. And nearly 80% of workers admit they have stolen or will consider stealing from their employers. There's a motivation to that. Low remuneration, low morale. So business owners must watch. These are all causes of the setbacks. Tail end will give you the strategies to overcome. But I think it is good to know the causes so that you put safeguard measures. Now, research shows that theft happens in all areas in business, all facets of business, with a trend towards higher sums and more sophisticated method at upper management levels. When you meet the little ones taking few things, though putting them together is major. But as you move higher the ladder, that is where you have the sophisticated and higher levels of stealing. Common forms of workplace theft may include taking home stocks of supplies, ranging from pens, especially those who school are at the same time working. They will pull some few A4 sheets. Imagine you are 3. Every day you pull. The third day, 1 bundle is gone. Put them together at the end of the year. The auditor will tell you they will use something. Pens, papers from office. They take to spare parts room. In fact, I deal with informal sector. Sometimes the mechanical side. There is collusion with engineers and the workshop people. Before the vehicles go, you have brand new tires under. They come back, we have bad tires. And they will take photo, they will even come and call you. Chief, can you come and see? We need new tire here. Obwa, he's going to remove and sew somewhere and pick a dirty one there. And you also want your business to go. These are little stealing that we have. So, taking home supplies. Now, there are also people we have employed as professionals. Not all professionals are genuine. People remove direct cash. Those who happen to be privileged and be handling cash. Fraudulent disbursement.
Mr. Kirsten, not to cut you, but if you could wrap up in the next 10 minutes so that I will ask my last question and we can also give opportunity to the participants to also ask questions. So please let's attempt to wrap up in the next 10 minutes.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
So direct removal of cash. Stealing time, we call it invisible theft. It's a silent cost that has a major impact on the company. There are instances such as performing personal tax during working hours It's a theft, time stealing. Taking long breaks, starting work late, closing early, putting through unauthorized overtime, and clocking in for each other. They are all time tests. The professionals giving away or using confidential business information out is stealing. All put together, they weaken. How to avoid this? Owners are advised to adopt zero tolerance approach such as professional discipline, dismissal, restitution, legal action, provision of adequate supervision, and improve internal monitoring. Business owners, these are how to avoid such things. I will now talk about leadership failure. It's also a course. Business owners can experience serious setbacks if they exhibit poor management skills, which can be evident in many forms. Some of these forms: inability to make good management decisions, inability to supervise staff, they are all leadership failures, inability to retain good employees, inability to have the vision to lead the organization, and above all, hiring of wrong people. And to avoid these, as a business owner, learn to study, find a mentor, enroll in training programs, conduct personal research. Do whatever you can to enhance your leadership skills and knowledge of the industry. Have you asked question? Another question?
Yes, I have another question. And in your introduction, you said that you will necessarily go through challenges. And if you don't take care, those challenges will bring you down. So in times of COVID, you realize that a lot of businesses went down. But even within that challenge, some were able to re-strategize and capitalize on opportunities available within the challenges to even be more successful in business than they were prior to COVID. Can you throw light on some of these strategies that people adopted that made them sail afloat amidst the challenges?
Thank you so much. The strategies, I'll make an attempt to come up with 3. Flexibility in your business operations. All that flexibility means being able to quickly adapt to new circumstances as they arise. COVID. Who said COVID is that terrible? Go to the telecommunication industry. They have made millions of dollars. They've taken advantage. So flexibility. In other words, changing plans to navigate or overcome unanticipated obstacles. This can be achieved with employee with flexible and innovative skills. So, to be able to go through such challenging times, flexibility is very important. Innovation is also another important, and diversification. I always get fascinated when I read about the Apple story. This IT firm called Apple, now everybody Apple. Apple is now one of the most valuable companies of our times with market value of $2 trillion. Now, it wasn't like that. Apple, in fact, failed. And those days when I learned Michael Dell, who was also a competitor in the computer industry, was advising Apple to close down and give out the money to the shareholders. So there's this gentleman called Steve Jobs, who had been, was he retired? He had retired and was re-employed. And he came up with an idea. 2 simple questions he asked himself. Of course, let me tell you the basis why Apple suffered that setback. Twofold. Apple's problem in the 90s were twofold. Its operating systems was outdated, and its products were expensive and uninspiring. Dell was advising decision makers to shut down. Steve Jobs came up. He said, no, I will ask myself two questions. What business are we really in, and what business do we need to be in? Apple was in computer business, but how were they supposed to win back customers when 97% has been taken over by Microsoft? Microsoft from nowhere all over the United States took over computer matters. They were outmoded. So this man called Steve Jobs decided to be innovative here. He decided that it needed to be in business of connecting people to their passion. Connecting people to their passion, to their photographs, to their music, to each other. And this answer created one of the most life-altering shifts for Apple. Now, what do we see? He started developing basic technology because there was no way he could meet up with Microsoft. So when he succeeded in developing passion of people, the photograph, let me connect people to photograph. Now we can hear video calls. These are basic things. So when he finished that, he decided to form partnership with Microsoft. And that formed the turnaround for Apple. Now, Apple is in big business. So innovation, which is key. Be able to innovate in times like COVID. Diversification. The business you are doing, it could happen that your sales have dropped or demand for your sales is no more going. Are you sitting down there to fold up? No, you need to diversify. By diversifying, to try as much as possible not to bring in new business that will be away from what you are doing, such that the same logistics, the same infrastructure, the same people you are using, you can use them in your diversified business. So you don't spend more to create the new business. So if I should answer your question, the key strategy to do this is to be able to diversify, to innovate, and be flexible.
Thank you. And I would add strengthening your internal controls, which is what you said.
Yes.
Making sure they don't pilfer the items you buy and a whole lot of things.
Yes.
So I would add that changing your internal control systems to make them risk-free. So, Mr. Kesson, this topic is not a 30-minute topic. In fact, if we had a whole day, I believe you would dissect it and take it step by step for us to really go home better informed. But even what you have done, I am better educated than I came here. So I would like that we give the opportunity to participants here, our audience, our kind audience, to also ask questions that are agitating their minds at this point. So please take your seat so that you are not like the classroom teacher. We are chatting with you, and then they can ask their questions. Thank you very much. So the floor is opened. I'm sure you've taken notes. If you have any question agitating your mind at this time, you can say that, oh, I've not set up a business, but this doesn't affect me. I'm in school. My dear, how many tertiary institutions do we have in Ghana now? I have lost count. That university, that technical university, I'm sure if I should begin to list, it will be a lot. If every year, every institution churns out 2,000 people, note that if even there are 20 tertiary institutions, you are talking about 40,000 people joining the queue. And I hear that it's about 300,000 each year coming out of schools. So it is important that whether you are in business or not, you begin to strategize. The opportunity is offered. Ask any question that is agitating your mind. If you are in business, and things are not going well, we have a strategist here. He is in business. He can tell you a lot. So the floor is opened.
No talking. I would even continue, go straight to the topic. How do you revamp and grow a distressed business or restart and develop a collapsed business? There are personal attributes one must pick. Naturally, every business owner must be an optimist. So this time around, let's assume that we are in distress. And how do you revamp? First and foremost, you should be an optimist that whatever I'm going to do will be successful. Only those who expect to succeed can survive. It's so emotional, financial storms. You see, you don't even sleep. You should be optimist. As we know that risk is inherent in business. Now, perseverance is an attribute every businessman must have. In fact, I would advise, it's Reverend Kwesipoku here. You are there? Oh. Perseverance, omnia vinci labor. We go vinci labor. I'll borrow my school motto. Action. We are action people. Omnia vinci labor. It says perseverance conquers all. In your quest to revamp, the challenges keep increasing. Be optimist and persevere. And trust me, you will be able to complete it well. Few strategies here. Be prepared to learn. What do you mean by be prepared to learn? Discussing the failure on its own, it's a form of learning. As you discuss the failure with colleagues, you would attract feedback. Then, after the feedback, you take responsibilities and learn from the failures. It's very important. 2, our advice, you stay focused. By staying focused, you set up small goals. Yeah? That small goals will benefit the owners to scale through. How do you achieve that small goals? Take your time and enlist the help of professionals who specialize in certain business disciplines, such as HR, if your problem is about PR, if your problem is about human resource, by employing good people. You don't force yourself. Don't say it's my sister's son. Please, just give it to HR professionals. If you want to recruit, give it to them. Stay out. They'll be able to recruit and get you the best. It's very important. Law, sometimes you need to overcome certain legal barriers. Employ the lawyers. They are professional people. You can't be jack of all trades. Finance, those who can fix your books, let them be there. Taxes, you can't explain to the taxman that I didn't know I'm supposed to pay this tax. Employ Mrs. Tiwa. They will deploy the little ones to come and help you with lesser fee. Don't charge them too much because sometimes your charges scare them. Yeah? Public relation. It all depends on the industry you find yourself. Please, be focused and set small goals. How am I going to revamp this business that is in distress? Third one, view every challenge as an opportunity. There is this man who was a co-founder of 22 Motors in U.S. And I quote, he said, to become a great leader, one must find an opportunity in challenge. Napoleon also said, a leader is a dealer in hope. So when you are dealing with a challenge, take one challenge at a time and analyze the best option to overcome the same. Finally, I would say have a clear mind. People get so much confused when they are hit with setbacks. Please, stay clear of your mind. Our mindset creates reality. according to Tony Robbins. What we believe in influence what we are able to achieve as a business owner. When we embrace strategies for turning business failure into success, we transform our mindset from one of defeat into one of what? Empowerment. You don't let your limiting belief disempower you. If you are limited in something, please consult to acquire the knowledge. Instead, stay hungry in your search for success. You can't be looking for success and do the old things. Stay hungry for success. Your hunger would inspire you and pay off at the end. In times of setbacks, reach out to trusted advisors for insight and support. This can provide you with the inspiration and motivation to power through the situation with confidence. Thank you so much. I will still expect more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kesson. Any question? Any question? Is there anybody who is in business? Nana?
Thank you very much, sir, for the information you've given us today. It's very important for the business people in the house. I want to ask, what is your advice for businesses in this, times that we are in, with the exchange rate, how it's going? How would you advise businesses or businessmen to position themselves so that their business will not go through a distress moment or time? Thank you.
Thank you so much. In fact, I cannot put movement of our currency under force majeure, but it is still unpredictable. Difficult to predict. What can you do? There's nothing you can do. But I told you earlier, when the exchange rate begins to hit you, you may run into financial crisis. Always try and have contingency. What we have come to meet is that certain turbulence will drive the exchange rate to misbehave, but it cannot be there forever. In as much as it is depreciating, there are managers who are in there working hard to stabilize it. Fall on your contingency to fix yourself. It's very important. If you don't have contingency, there are several ways which may not be palatable, but necessary decisions to take. You scale down if it's about production, you slow down production. What we don't normally do is raise budget for our media campaigns. We call it marketing drives. It's very expensive. Usually those who depend on imports and, for that matter, exchange rate drives them, you don't even have a problem. The problem you are likely to meet is that your sales may fall because whatever effect the exchange rate gives you, you pass it on to the consumer. The problem is when the consumer's purchasing power is so low, he will not patronize. What do? You strengthen your marketing skills. That is where you bring people who are innovative. You can change your sales lines. You can improve. There's what you call conversion ratio. It's a metric to assess your salespeople, whether they are doing or not. It needs extra work, but it's a matter of passing on to the consumer. When the consumer is unable to buy, just intensify your marketing tools to be convincing enough to meet your customers' consuming habits and stay in business till the better times come. But you must always have a contingency to fill in. Others may want to lay down staff it's not a good thing. We've all been hit by that, but it's difficult looking into faces of your employee, true fault of no theirs, ask them to go home. Very difficult. So please, when you make your profit or super profits, don't consume all. Put some aside for times like this. Thank you.
Any more questions? So this was about being in business, the business coming down, and you revamping it. But you touched on a note on making your business legitimate in terms of registering and all of that. I would add also that it's important that even though he also touches on the fact that you let the professionals do their work, I believe it's important to also know what the professionals say they are doing. Of course, not by not necessarily becoming skilled. So what do you do under the circumstance? Am I clear? You're starting a new business.
Okay.
You don't know what it's about. You are legitimizing your business. So you are consulting the professionals. Is it not also relevant for you to also attempt to know what the professional is required to do for you?
Of course, I said enlist the professionals. When you list them, you look through which one do I need at this point in time. You'd always conceive the business idea. That shouldn't end there. Acquire more knowledge. So the professionals, there are a variety of them. You look at where you lack and you consult. Where you lack and you consult. I don't know whether I understood you, because you don't need to understand the nitty-gritty of what complements a whole business. One after the other. First person could be a friend or a family member or somebody in public service who is with an agency responsible for your line of business. Just consult, learn, and that is where you begin to pick these informations. Learning from one point will lead you to another and another and another. Whether I had your question right.
Okay, so you don't know, let me say, you don't have to know about taxes as in, let's say, how to really maybe calculate the tax. But don't you have to know exactly what is required of you? Like starting a business. I use tax because it's my area. Shouldn't you go ahead learning that I have to comply with corporate taxes, value-added taxes, and all of that before? So there's a bit of learning that should come from you, shouldn't there?
Of course.
Because before...
You have no idea.
Yes,
like you said, you conceive the idea. From there, you begin to learn. Personally, I let my auditors will be coming here. Are they here? A J&S associate, are they with me? Oh, yes, my office manager is here. Thank you. And that is my consultant. They are away from Accra. My business is to know more about cocoa, then how I can get my cocoa from the bush, the strategies to get my factory, how my factory can do the sales. Today, he was explaining some tax that are coming and what to tax on when, and so on and so forth. The point is, before you go into business, learn the requirements. At least when you have your license and you register, once you have the license, learn which agencies do I have to register with, especially when you get to Ghana Revenue Authority. If you go there and you don't fortify yourself with experts behind you, they can come with all kinds of taxes. So it is always good to stay back. You bring the professionals, they fix it, and they teach you. Me, they've taught me, but when the GRA people come, I pretend as if I don't know. I say, can you give me time so that I bring the professionals in? Other than that, they will bully you and take your money. So these are all the smartness as a businessman you need to know. Insurance, for instance, you have certain policies with insurance companies. You are not supposed to deal with them. They will close their eyes and cheat you. In the law, if you don't know when you meet a professional, he would advise you. There is a middleman called a broker, insurance broker. Whatever premiums you pay to the insurance company, it has a broker component. It's only your duty to appoint a broker, just a letter to the insurance company that I've appointed Minister Ralph as my broker. Just that. Whatever insurance issue, they will deal with Reverend Ralph. You don't go in, but you would have to tell the broker, I've smashed my car, I had a policy for home burglary, I have policy for this. Now I've been burgled. Just tell him. He will come and assess, and you leave it to him. So doing business doesn't mean just go for the money. There are certain requirements, please. Be prepared to learn, but you can't do it. As you employ the professionals, they are bound all over. As you employ them, they would fight for you and at the same time teach you. But trust me, when the GRA people come, don't pretend as if you know. Please invite the professionals. Other than that, they will bully you. That's a little advice I will give.
Thank you very much. Pastor, I think we can conveniently end it here. Mr. Ketson, thank you. As I said, I am better educated than when I came. I'm sure that people may not want to ask questions, but open up for people to accost you in corners. I know in events like this, sometimes people don't like talking. They will accost you in corners and ask you questions. And please make time and answer them. Thank you all for indulging us. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.